Okay, let's get into our Week 8 preview and predictions here on NFL matchups. All right, we got a battle the AFC North here. Baltimore Ravens, very convincing win over Tampa Bay Buccaneers last Monday night. Cleveland Browns, obviously Deshaun Watson out for the year. Is it Jameis Winston? Is it DTR? Who's going to get the start? Who knows, right? But let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens offensively. One of the best teams, if not the best team right now in football. I think they found their identity with running the ball. And I keep saying that every week. And I keep saying, yeah. And every time I say that, they find another way, right? I will say this, though, about Lamar Jackson. I think he finally accepts or understands his role as a very elusive mobile quarterback. Is he going to be a traditional pocket passer like Jordan Love, how Jordan Love looks out there, or to an extent CJ Stroud, some of these younger quarterbacks out there? Absolutely not. But the combination between him and Derrick Henry, who honestly has been probably the biggest free agent signing this year. I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago on my NFL Sunday Wake Up show as far as free agency pickups in this past offseason. Derrick Henry has to be the number one at the top of that list. A lot of questions, including for myself, about his age. Will he be able to stay healthy? Now, knock on wood, he continues to stay healthy. I don't see them going into Cleveland and losing this game. I think this game is in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is. It's 10 o'clock kickoff in Cleveland. The Browns are done. They're pretty much stick a fork in them, right? So rankings, I don't even want to get into it, honestly. I mean, what I can say is that the Ravens are a top 10 and literally at least in more crucial statistical defensive and offensive rankings, right? So whereas the Browns, you can imagine, are not. So for me, although it is an AFC North game, the two teams do know each other well. It's just too many injuries, too many unknowns for the Cleveland Browns. One thing we know, Baltimore is ready to go. And after dropping their first two, they've won, 4 or 5 in a row, and they're looking to extend their winning streak. So in this one, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to win this one rather comfortably, I would say. All right, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. They're 1-5. They're on the road heading to the Motor City to take on the Detroit Lions, who sit nice and pretty there at 5-1. Titans made a change of quarterback last week. Mason Rudolph got the start. Now, apparently, Will Levis had some type of injury, which I did not know anything about, but I think they're just sick of Will Levis at this point. Kind of like the Browns, the quarterback play kind of sucks too. This is not a good football team, period. On paper, the Lions are just far more superior. The only thing I will say is that Titans have maybe had a little harder schedule, but it doesn't matter because their record really should be 1-5 anyway, honestly. Whereas the Lions' probably biggest games were last week. I know they had a game against Tampa. Forgive me if there might be some other games that they've had this week that are this year that have been really good. I think they opened up with the Lions too, or was it something like that? I forgot. So, they opened up with the Chiefs. So I'm just looking back at their schedule right now. But nonetheless, this team is one of the top teams in the National Football League, yet alone the NFC. Jared Goff is playing really, really well. Not turning the ball over is key. That's like usually 70% of the whole thing right there. As far as playing quarterback in the National Football League, if you don't turn the football over, you give your team a chance to win these games. And that's what the Lions have been able to do. And I think they'll continue to do that this week against the lowly Tennessee Titans. All right, let's focus our attention to the AFC South. Both teams this could be one of those directional games, I would say. This is a rematch, I believe, week 1, where the Colts were at home. They played host to the Texans, and they lost a close one to the Texans. But now Texans are at home. They're sitting at 5-2, coming off of a loss in Green Bay last week. The Colts coming off of a win against Miami in a tough-fought game. Anthony Richardson does return to the starting lineup. He is still the starting quarterback, which to me is a mistake, but I get it from an organizational standpoint. The Colts have to start Anthony Richardson. They invested a high draft pick in him. They got to kick the tires on him, right? CJ Stroud coming off of a performance he would rather soon forget. 82 yards or something like that throwing, which is crazy to me. I didn't even think an NFL quarterback of his caliber could even produce such a stat line like that. But these two teams do play each other very closely. We saw that in the first matchup. But I think the Titans have a really good shot here to get back on. Not the Titans. I'm sorry, the Texans. Excuse me. Get a chance to get back on track here. The Colts, to me, aren't a really offensive, efficient unit, especially with Anthony Richardson. I think they're far better with Joe Flacco under the start, and PFF believes that as well too. Listen, the Colts are ranked 29th overall offensively, whereas the Texans are ranked 9th, where I think Joe Flacco provides a little bit more better quarterbackial play than Anthony Richardson, who's probably good for a big chunk play here or there, maybe a scramble, but that's not enough to be sustainable in National Football League. So I like the Texans in this one to win the game. I would say comfortably, but I don't know what the spread is on this game, but I would definitely say that this is a game that they should win. It says -6 here, so almost by a touchdown. I think that's about right for this particular game. All right, we got the Green Bay Packers heading down to Duval County to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Packers, great win, big win for them last week against the Texans at home. Now they take the show on the road. Jordan Love looking to just continue to improve, not make so many mistakes early on in these games. Because eventually, you keep making these mistakes against really good teams. You can't dig your way out of that. So I think, for them, that's something they got to focus on. And I talked about that early on. As far as Jacksonville is concerned, a great win. They played 2 weeks in London. They lost one, won one. Maybe they can ride that wave against the Patriots, bring it back home. I think they'll be in this game a little early, because one thing about Green Bay is that they do start very slow, but then when they get hot, they get hot. Statistically, the Packers are just a better team, at least, in my opinion. Obviously, the stats don't really show that. When you look at PFF, their defensive rankings are 16th and 17th, respectively. The Packers 16th, Jacksonville 17th. Offensively, the Packers are at 11th, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are 14th. So, and strength of schedule really isn't that a big of a factor either, because the Packers, according to PFF, haven't really played anybody. They have one of the lowest or the highest, I don't know, that's how you look at it, but they're ranked 28th. So basically, they ain't played nobody yet, according to PFF. And the same thing for Jacksonville. So I think on paper, we all are looking at Green Bay at this game, including myself, right? But something about going to Florida sometimes in that hot, muggy weather environment. Now, I think what goes against Jacksonville right now is that they were 2 weeks in London. They got to come back, not even a bye. They may be a little bit tired and a little bit more fatigued. So I'm going to take Green Bay to win a close one. I don't think this game will be a blowout. The current spread on this particular game, let me look that up for you guys. I believe it's 4.5 right now. But I can see that number dropping maybe to about 3.5 right before game time, just because I feel like it's going to be closer than what we think. Trevor Lawrence has been playing a little bit better. At least last week he did. Their running game has got on track with Tank Bigsby. I don't know what the status of Travis Etienne is. I don't think he's injured. I just don't think that the Jaguars believe in him, and he may be on the trade block sooner rather than later. So, all right, we got the Arizona Cardinals. This is also a 10 a.m. start. Kind of a weird one for the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's always hard when you have the Pacific Standard Time zone teams heading to the Eastern Standard Time. So this is a 10 o'clock start. So for these Cardinals players, their body's going to feel like it's 7 a.m. And they're going to have to obviously get there earlier to the stadium before that. So their clock might be running a little bit behind. Cardinals coming off a really, really big win this Monday night on the doubleheader against the LA Chargers. But Tua may be back in the saddle for Miami. So that's a big thing right now. No official word about Tua yet, but reports are saying that there's a good chance he may start. And if that's the case, good for them, because then their offense can maybe get back on track, because this offense has been atrocious. Now, this past week against who they played this, I believe it was because they tried to get the running game back online. It was a close loss, 21-13 to the Colts. Again, they probably should have won. Right now, I can't really go off the stats for the Dolphins, because it's a little bit skewed, because they haven't really had great quarterback play. Now, as far as the Cardinals are concerned, defensively, they can be had. I felt like in that Monday night game, the Chargers, if they have had one type of game-breaking type of wide receiver play, they probably would have won that game. A more explosive plays, like Ladd McConkey can only do so much. Their tight end Disley, who saw a lot of targets, he kind of started eating up that Arizona Cardinals defense late in that game, but they just don't have that one stud. And J.K. Dobbins, he was okay, but not good enough, right? So, Kyler Murray is good for running around, making plays off script. But for some reason, man, I'll say this. I feel like if Tua starts, and I get it, he's been out a while, if he does start, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins to win this game. I think if Tua does start emotionally, that team is going to be feeling a lot better. I think the whole traveling to the East Coast is a bit of a struggle, especially for Arizona. And historically, they have not fared well traveling from west to east to play in this particular time slot. So I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to go with Tua as the quarterback, assuming he is the quarterback right now. They haven't made an official word, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins to win that game there at home in front of the Miami Dolphins fans. All right, we got AFC East matchup. The struggling Jets taking on the struggling Patriots as well. The Jets, coming off of a pretty sad loss on Sunday night to the Steelers. And then the Patriots, underwhelming performance in London too. They don't get a bye week, so they're traveling back. The good thing for them is that they're at home. The Jets have to travel to them. Statistically speaking, both teams aren't really good. The one thing that we thought the Jets were going to be good at is defense, but apparently they've struggled a little bit. Now PFF does have them ranked as the first defense. I don't understand that. But if you watch the games, they can be had. Obviously, they just gave up 30-something points this past week to Russell Wilson. But there are pieces there. There's no doubt about it, right? They're going to get Hassan Reddick. We're going to see if he plays this game, how well he's been keeping in conditioning since holding out. But offensively, this is where the team really needs to improve upon. Aaron Rodgers, I believe, has thrown multiple picks in the last 3 games, and that's not good. They brought on Devontae Adams to maybe help shore up that offense. They've taken the responsibility from play calling from Nathaniel Hackett, and they only managed to put up, I believe, 17 points last week, which isn't good enough. So for them, the only thing good about it is that the Patriots defense is really bad, and they don't have enough weapons in their arsenal to compete. So on paper, I like the Jets in this one. This is a game you have to win. Now, these two teams have met previously earlier this year, and the Jets did win that game pretty convincingly. It was actually probably one of their better offensive output against New England. I believe it was a Monday night game. So I would expect that to be the same again. Now, the Patriots may be a little bit more invigorated after hearing their coach calling them soft. So I would expect a bit of a fight. But overall, in the end, I think that the New England Patriots will fall short of competing with the Jets. So I'm going to take the Jets in this game in the AFC East. All right, we got a battle of the NFC South. Falcons taking on the Buccaneers. Both teams coming off of pretty lackluster performances offensively. The Falcons could not get anything going against Seattle last week, like literally. Bijan Robinson, I believe he did score, but it just, Tyler Algier was a non-factor. They just really couldn't get anything going. Now you look at Tampa Bay, they got up quick on the Ravens Monday night, but after that, I believe the Ravens just kind of went on a tear and scored like 20-something points unanswered. Baker Mayfield struggled, multiple interceptions, and they're going to be out without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, I think, for the rest of the season, if I'm not mistaken, and Mike Evans up until, I believe, week 12. So it doesn't look good for them. Now, these two teams did play recently. The Falcons got the overtime win on a very questionable or non-questionable call from the referees, allowing that game to kind of go a little bit further and helping out the Falcons winning that game in overtime. But I'll tell you this. I think Kirk Cousins, this was the first week in a while that we haven't seen him really live up to what he's been playing or how he's been playing. In the end, the Falcons are just a little bit more healthier than Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point. So I'm going to take the Falcons to get the season sweep. Although this game is in Tampa Bay, I just don't think they have enough in the tank. They don't have anyone out there that they can really put out there to compete against the Dirty Birds in the Atlanta Falcons. So this is an interesting game here. We got the Eagles taking on the Bengals. Bengals are looking to surge back to get back in the playoff picture here, and a win here would definitely help that for them. They're sitting at 3-4, where the Eagles, on the other hand, are 4-2. Now they've bounced back after the week before. They played the Browns, only won by 4. Nick Sirianni is gesturing to the fans. They go on the road into MetLife, the return of Saquon Barkley, and he just goes off, destroys the Giants defense, rushes for 176 yards, something crazy like that. And then there it is. So I still think this team is middle of the road. Quarterback play isn't the greatest right now. Jalen Hurts is ranked at 64.4 as far as his grade for PFF, where Joe Burrow is getting better and better each and every week. And the good thing for them is they're at home. So As far as key injuries are concerned, this one might be a problem, especially for the Eagles. Jordan Mailata is out. He's on the IR for now, and he was one of the fourth or best tackles ranked. All right, so that's a big thing. Now, obviously, they were able to get past it this week, but the Bengals do have a pretty formidable pass rush, so I would expect that to be a problem, especially getting in the face of Jalen Hurts, who has been known to have a case of the turnover bug this season. So I believe he leads the league in most turnovers at the quarterback position. But correct me if I'm wrong, but there it is. Now the line on this game is really close. It's -2.5, so it's letting you know that it can go either way. I would be surprised if this doesn't drop to about -1.5, maybe even a pick 'em, depending on where you place your bets at. But overall, with all that said, I do like the Bengals to win this game because I don't know what team you're going to get with Philadelphia from a week-to-week basis. Right? 1 week offensively, they look stagnant. Then next week, they come and look better. Why? Because they're able to run the ball. I think for them, they just need to get the ball to Saquon Barkley and let everything else play out from there. That would be my best advice to them. But the Bengals, honestly, man, I think they're really going on a good little tear after starting off pretty rough here. But they got this game. Then they got the Raiders. Then they got to go on the road to Baltimore and then in LA. So this is a must win for them, I think, if they want to get back in the conversation, because if you can win this game, get back to 500, you should beat the Raiders the following week. That puts you at 5-4 as you get into the game with the Baltimore Ravens, which obviously they played them close a couple weeks ago. They lost in overtime. So they're back in it. They just got to continue on the stretch that they're gone. And maybe so. But I'm going to go with the Bengals to win that particular game there. All right, let's take a look at the Saints and the Chargers. Excuse me. Boy, I don't even know where to start with the Saints. Don't know what the status is for Derek Carr. I know he was suffering an oblique injury, which put Spencer Rattler in the starting lineup on Thursday night, or was it Monday or Thursday night? Forgive me if Thursday night last week, where he just got steamrolled. Not all his fault. I don't think they played really well. I think Denver was just ready to go, honestly, if you ask me. Overall, this team is not. They kind of made us, including myself, look like a fool. I was on board with the Saints. I thought they were going to do something, but when I thought about it, I was like, well, first 2 weeks they played Carolina and Dallas, right? And Dallas, all we know now, their defense is not really great, and we already knew that the Panthers weren't a great team anyway. So defensively, they're trying to hang in there. It's not a highly ranked defense, which I thought they'd be better, but honestly, some injuries there have plagued them. They're just a middle of the road team overall, and I feel that their head coach is a lame duck coach. Now, their strength of schedule has been tough for them so far, and it's only going to get worse if I'm not mistaken. I mean, listen, they got the Chargers they can get healthy again against Carolina. They do have the Falcons, the Browns, the Rams. So there are some winnable games there, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough for them. And then when you look at the Chargers, they're coming off of a loss on Monday night to the Arizona Cardinals, a game that they probably thought they could win. They just don't have enough explosive players, which I think they need to go out and do something in the trade realm right there. So Cooper Kupp, hey, if you got a second round pick, maybe make the trade. Just switch locker rooms there in SoFi. Adding a guy like Cooper Kupp could probably really help boost this team's confidence, because you already know they're going to be well coached, right? You look at their last couple games here. Lost to Arizona. They got the Saints. They got the Browns. They got the Titans. Those are all 3 winnable games right now. They're sitting at what's their record right now? Currently, they're sitting at 3-3. So if they can win this game here and maybe win the next 2 after that, it puts you at a really good position at about 6-3. And then you end up having to play. They got they got the Ravens and the Falcons and then the Chiefs. So definitely, if they can get these 3 wins against these really, really lowly teams, that would be a right step into the direction for them as far as playoffs are concerned, because I don't think they're going to compete for the AFC West anyway. So their best bet is to try to win out and get a wild card or something like that. But overall, I do like the Chargers this game. They are at home. I think they're a better coach. I still think they have the better personnel. They'll have the better quarterback play. And I think there's something to be said about the connection between Herbert and Disley. And of course, Ladd McConkey, I got to throw his name out there too. So, but I like the Chargers to win this game at home and get back in the winning side of the column there. This is probably one of my most interesting games to kind of look at. Buffalo Bills on the road taking on Seattle. Like, for those of you who watch football, right? whether it's college or pro, it's weird going to the Pacific Northwest. Like the Seahawks don't necessarily have to really be a great team, but something about going up there it's just kind of like odd, right? I don't know what it is, because I guess this is a far flight, I would say, because the Bills are coming from upstate New York. They got to fly cross country and in the top western part of the country to play in Seattle, right? But good thing for them, they got Josh Allen, and I really believe in my heart of hearts, getting Amari Cooper was crucial for this team to remain as one of those top teams in the AFC, because it's only going to free up a lot of other guys. We saw what happened last week. Amari Cooper, first game as a Bill, got a touchdown. What else happened? Keon Coleman, career day, right? Four receptions, 125 yards, right? A lot of people were saying, well, they weren't using him correctly. Why? Because they have him playing outside. He's not that kind of receiver. But guess what? You get a guy like Amari Cooper. One thing I will say about Amari Cooper, very tactical as a route runner. He is an extreme professional, a tactician when it comes to route running and getting open. And I think that's going to really help out Keon Coleman. Line him up in the slot, maybe, because he's a big guy, right? Line him up in the slot, maybe work against some smaller nickel corners, and that's going to free up some more opportunities for him and some other guys like Khalil Shakir, who had a pretty good day in the office too on Sunday too. So you look at Seattle. I don't know what's the status of a DK Metcalf at this point. He has a questionable leg injury, so he may or may not be ready to go, which is a big blow to them. But Seattle, one thing we'll say about Seattle, they will throw the football. They will throw the football and they run. Their offense is pretty potent. It's pretty potent. The only problem with it is that sometimes they become too pass reliant. And they're gonna have to feed the ball to Kenneth Walker Jr. at some point. So when you look at these guys, metric-wise, team statistically, offensively, they're sixth and fifth. The Bills are sixth, the fifth, and the Seahawks are fifth. But I like Buffalo on the road here. I think this is a better team coaching-wise. A lot of people may disagree with me. Not to say that Seattle isn't coached well, but I just don't really buy Seattle. I know they're just coming off a really great win at home, on the road in Atlanta, but let's just be real. The Falcons are an exciting team. A lot of people are putting a lot of stock in them, but they aren't the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills are an established team. They are what they are. Josh Allen's playing really well. Him and Lamar Jackson, to me, are one of the two front runners for MVP. Obviously, Lamar is probably the front runner, but Josh Allen is playing really good football and not turning the ball over. So I like the Buffalo Bills to take this one in the Pacific Northwest against the Seattle Seahawks. All right, let's take our attention and focus it on the two young quarterbacks here. We got Caleb Williams, hopefully Jaden Daniels. I know he's day-to-day. He left that game early the other day. I believe, was it a rib injury for the Commanders? Hopefully he's good to go. But obviously these are two quarterbacks right now, especially in Jaden Daniels, who has been lighting it up, and Caleb Williams is coming off of a bye, but prior to that bye had been lighting it up himself. So the Bears travel to Washington to take on the Commanders. Now, I will say this. Defensively, the Bears are better. The Bears are just better. Offensively, Washington is better, but the Bears are improving. So it's kind of like one of those, it's a test of will here. Which one is going to break first? Will the Bears defense stifle Washington, or will Washington's offense get after the Bears defense? Me personally, although I do like the Bears overall, I think Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback overall right now. I think although Caleb Williams is improving, but he's had a short stint here where he has played really well. Where I feel like Jaden Daniels, with the exception of maybe the first game against the Buccaneers, ever since then he's really been lights out. Now the injury is a little bit of a concern for me, but if it's just a rib and they've been able to treat it this week constantly, and he'll be maybe he won't be 100%, but if he's 85-90%, that's damn near good as 100% in the National Football League. So I like the Commanders to take this win, although the Bears did have a whole week to prepare and get ready to go, whereas Washington didn't. But the good thing for Washington is that their game against the Panthers was over literally in the first quarter. So I would assume that Dan Quinn rested a lot of guys, or they didn't have to do a lot to get that win and produce more film for the Bears to prepare for. So, but I like the Washington Commanders to win that game. I think it's going to be an exciting game. Two young quarterbacks going at it in the afternoon. It doesn't get much better than that, I would say. All right. In a snoozer here, you got the lowly Pittsburgh, but the Carolina Panthers taking on the Broncos, who are 4-3 and looking to trend upwards, whereas the Panthers are, well, I'll say this: they're 1-6. The season's pretty much a wrap for them. They need to be in a quarterback mindset for the draft, whether it's Shador, Cam Ward, who else is out there? Somebody, but Bryce Young isn't the guy. Andy Dalton, obviously, we knew he wasn't the guy. I think he was just somebody they needed to put in because Bryce Young would get killed if he continued. And but they still haven't played really well, honestly. So they're dead last overall. Defensively, they suck. Offensively, not really good. Denver's offense is improving. We all know about their defensive exploits. They get after it. They get takeaways. Bo Nix is steadily playing better with each and every game. Hopefully, Sean Payton can dial up some more play action for him. Javonte Williams really popped this past Thursday night against the Saints. If he can continue that trend, that'll be awesome, which I think he will, because the Panthers cannot stop the run. Their best run defender has been out for the season, and so teams have had a field day on their running game with their running attack. So I like the Denver Broncos to win this game pretty easily. And if they struggle with them, then I don't know. I don't know what to say. I really don't. All right, we got the only undefeated team here, the Kansas City Chiefs, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders in Allegiant Stadium here in my home city of Las Vegas. The Chiefs are undefeated, like I said before. The Raiders are 2-5. Raiders coming off of another loss in LA. It's their second time playing in LA. They played the Chargers earlier in the year. They lost that one. They went back, played the Rams, and they lost that game too. Now, Gardner Minshew is going to be the starting quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is on the injured reserve, the fractured, I believe it's throwing hand. And then the Raiders did go ahead and sign Desmond Ridder off the practice squad of the Arizona Cardinals, which it is what it is. Like, you better hope he doesn't see any time because he sucks too. With Gardner Minshew, you already know what you're going to get, honestly. He's going to turn the ball over at least once or twice, and the Chiefs defense is no joke. Like I mentioned before, they are the glue of what's holding this team together. Patrick Mahomes should get a little bit better support today, or excuse me, on Sunday, or not support, but he should play better just because the Raiders defense ain't good either. So, which is sad because I thought the defense for the Raiders had potential. They got some guys on there, at least the front seven, Max Crosby, but Tyree Wilson, their draft pick from a year ago, I don't even know if the guy plays anymore, to be honest with you. I've yet to really see him on the field make any type of play. So, but they still got other guys like Spillane, Jack Jones, up and down cornerback. But I think the running game for the Chiefs is going to be the driving factor. They're going to throw the ball to Kelsey, and the Chiefs are going to remain undefeated in Allegiant Stadium. They have yet to lose in Allegiant Stadium since the opening of that stadium, and even going into the Super Bowl last year, they did not lose there. So, but I like the Chiefs to win that game rather easily, I would say. Now, funny thing though, the Raiders were the last team to beat the Chiefs, but I don't know. All right, Sunday night football action. You got the Dallas Cowboys 3-3 taking on the depleted from San Francisco 49ers at 3-4. Put it simple. Niners, I know you're depleted, but you're a better coach team. You're a better ran organization. You need to win this game. The Cowboys are a mess. The owner's delusional. The players are delusional. The fact that Troy Aikman made his comments, I don't know if some of you are aware, he made a comment about the wide receivers not running really great routes, kind of lazy routes, based on the film study he's done for preparation for a lot of their games. And then Robert Turpin, I think it's Kevontae Turpin, says basically he don't know what he's talking about. Like, I'm going to go with Troy Aikman here on this. So he's seen a lot more football than you. He's a Super Bowl winner, 2-time Super Bowl winner, and a Hall of Famer, or 3-time Super Bowl winner, and a Hall of Famer. So, Cowboys defense is not good at all. They don't run the football. At least the Niners can maybe still run the football. Now, I know they don't really have a lot of options outside, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the Niners have the blueprint on how to beat the Cowboys. It's obvious. Run the football like most every team does, and you're okay. And don't turn the ball over to them. But I don't even know what the spread is on this game. I would assume it's 4.5, so it's under a touchdown. But the Cowboys, to me, even with a week off of preparation, this isn't a very well coached team. I dare to venture to say that they're probably one of the most penalized teams in the National Football League. They don't play clean football, and I feel bad, but it is what it is. But I got the Niners winning this game. And if they don't, then the Niners are done. If they lose this game to Dallas, season's over. Don't even bother. This is a game you got to. I know they struggled a little bit with the injuries, but you got to beat this team. You got to beat them. All right. And then for Monday night, you got the New York Giants taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson, I believe, is still the starter or should be the starter, and rightfully so. The Steelers defense is legit. Obviously, now they got a quarterback back there who can throw the football, establishing relationship with George Pickens, which we talked about earlier in this episode. The Giants, I thought they were turning the corner. Listen, I did not think they were going to be playoff contenders, but I thought that they were making the right steps in the right direction. Honestly, it's the quarterback really is not great. I think they got talent on this team. I think they're in the market for a quarterback as well too. And I think traveling to Pittsburgh is going to fare too much for Daniel Jones. The only thing I will say, if Daniel Jones is still the starting quarterback and they don't switch to Drew Lock, at least he can throw touchdowns on the road, where since signing his mega deal, Daniel Jones has yet to throw a touchdown in MetLife Stadium since signing his deal. Yeah. Crazy. So I expect the Steelers to win this game and improve their record to 6-2 and try to stay on top of the NFC North and just be right there step by step with the Baltimore Ravens, who are making some noise there as well too. So, okay. All right, there you have it. Those are my previews and predictions for week 8. Should be a good week.